Hi, I'm Francesca. I'm Victoria. I'm Laura. And um, hi. Welcome to Novel Night. It's a holiday week, but if you're here, that means you are looking for a bit of entertainment. And tonight, this is a pre recorded episode, okay? But we are going to be talking about Christmas traditions, okay? We are dedicated to you, our viewers. So we decided to bring a Christmas traditions episode to you as well, because I've also learned Thanksgiving Day has the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Day parade. I've watched it. And at the end of the parade, Santa Claus is in there. And I'm like, hey, too interesting. On Thanksgiving Day, you'll give thanks, eat, stuff your face, then we're ringing in Santa Claus straight after. And then, of course, we go Black Friday shopping the next day. So we are going to be talking about all things Christmas tradition, what we grew up doing, what we do now, what we see other people doing, and all the things. So the first big question is, when does Christmas actually begin? Now, for me, growing up, Christmas always began when Advent began. I grew up very Christian, so we follow the Christian calendar. Advent is the beginning of the Christian year. You know what I'm saying? We kind of kick things off. So for me, Christmas really started whenever Advent falls. This year, Advent falls on December 1st. So it's going to be the first Sunday in December. So technically, that's when Christmas begins. What about you guys?
So for me, growing up was the same as you because also growing up Catholic, it was usually around December 1st. After moving to the States, though, and also I would say it's probably because growing up, I didn't really celebrate a lot Halloween. And once I moved here and I'm on my own, I really got to explore more of the celebrating Halloween. So for me now, it starts September 1st. Right after Halloween, like, as soon as that is done, next day, it's on.
Here, Laura.
So we already growing up, it was December, around December. I am not a big, unlike what you see over here, this is my first Christmas tree. I've been living on my own for 25 years. I've not celebrated, I've not decorated. This is just, we're in a new era. And I got this like a couple weeks after the election. So it depends on the mood for me. But what's different in Puerto Rico is that we don't stop celebrating until like late January. So we have a really extended holiday season. We have like multiple extended holidays with it. So it doesn't matter when you start, it's when you stop. It just February 1st, we just take our trees and burn them down because that's where the Virgin Fire celebrates her, I don't know, her thing. So
Cute. Yeah. Interesting. I love hearing about these different things. I never did Halloween either, so I didn't have that growing up. So it's just like that's a dead holiday. Of course, Thanksgiving wasn't a thing, so that's also a dead holiday. So for me, it's like when you go to school in summer, you start school, then it's like, okay, you get midterms. And then after that, it's just Christmas. So yeah, it's just very interesting, but it was always dictated by the church calendar. Sometimes Advent would begin like late November. It just depends when things fall. And for me, even this year, I feel like Thanksgiving is super late. Like I felt like Thanksgiving was supposed to be last week. I don't know. It's just again, it's the calendar. But what was like something childhood that you remember that was very distinct about Christmas? Like, what was something you always did in your household? Fran?
So for me, I guess different than what maybe some people do here in the States, we were very big on the nativity because, again, growing up Catholic. So for me, the tree maybe wasn't as important or decorating the house, but it was about the nativity. So, like, I've always grown up with a huge nativity set. Like, we build a whole town. And like that was more of what you were really looking forward to. And it was such a shock when I moved to the States and I was looking to buy stuff to build my nativity set. And there was nothing to. And I was scrambling and I'm like, what is wrong with you people? And then it's just like whatever you can find is just the little basic thing. And I'm like, that is not a nativity set. What are you talking about? So I think like that was always a special part for me. And a lot of it, yes, we used to make things ourselves. So where you had to like build a little lake or a river or something, or stuff that you would build yourself. And we used to do that also with the Christmas ornaments, like on the tree. Probably, I mean, my mom was very particular, so probably not as like kid looking. There was, they got to look good. So there was pressure
Yeah,
to
for
what
sure.
we were doing. But yeah, I think that just the spending of that, the importance of the holiday as opposed to the shopping aspect. So like gifts and stuff was never the main thing, at least in my household. It was more about the real meaning of the
Mhm.
holiday.
What about you, Laura?
So we did celebrate Noche Buena, which is the holy night, the night before he gets born, all the different things. But the reality is, so Puerto Rico celebrates Three Kings Day. That's the day that we get gifts. That's the day. It's January 6th, by the way. Today is a holiday. It's considered out like a high holiday in Puerto Rico. The night before we get grass, the kids get grass for the camels, and they do like a little bit of water, and then they get like in the morning they get gas and stuff like that. We do have Santa Claus. We do have that place, but the reality is, Three Kings Day is the bigger holiday. It's all the gifts are given to Jesus, and but we celebrate, at least in my family and most of the people, most of the culture that I grew up with, Noche Buena was that we celebrate. We have dinner, we go to midnight mass, we do the celebration, and it's just like the next morning. It's kind of like an afterthought.
Right.
We
Yeah.
were lazy at my house. We wouldn't go to midnight mass, but we would watch midnight mass on TV. We would not leave the house, friend. Like all the good Catholics go to the mass. We're just like partying up and stuff like that. And most people like parties, and they go to other people's houses and they just start singing and start our Christmas caroling are like basically like on singing and then going and raiding people's houses, alcohol and food. It's actually funny about the Three Kings because in Panama we also celebrate Three Kings.
Yeah.
But what I find really interesting is the fact that in Italy there is also a holiday Three Kings. It is celebrate, which is when you get gifts, and it's on January 5th. It is also usually like Epiphany kind of thing.
Excellent. Yeah.
Hagna Bethana, which is technically like a witch. It's like this really ugly looking witch, and that's how you get the gifts. So it's almost like a scary but not scary kind of thing. And I find it so interesting because the Italian culture really does not mesh well with the concept of Halloween and witches and all of that. But there is so much of that in Italian folklore that it's even in a Christmas tradition. So yeah, I find that fun.
That is so interesting. I like how like the religious mixes with the folklore a bit and just like local law and cultural bits, religion aside. For me, again, it was just everything was just heavily religious. Everything was heavily religious. So the first thing you're looking for is Advent. And I personally loved Advent because Advent candles, week after week, just all the thing. Um, what was big was not buying a Christmas tree, none of that. It wasn't. I didn't have Santa Claus, which was a whole thing. My husband and I, again, when you have two different cultures kind of coming together, it's like, okay, how do you feel about Santa Claus? Like, we didn't grow up with that. I just always attributed that to no, that's like American. I mean, in the UK, you have Santa, people do Santa Claus. In Jamaica, not so much. And I grew up in an immigrant family. However, what was big was the night before Christmas. So it's Christmas Eve. We had like what is known as a grand market. So that's when everyone goes out. Like you want to go out with your friends. So first, when you're little, you go out with your family, but that's when you buy the gifts. So there's no, for me, illusion that, oh, Santa Claus brought you all these gifts. No, it's your parents. And full well, your parents bought you gifts, or in my case, I have a sister bought you gifts, grandparents bought you gifts. That's what we would do. The difference is the adults would purchase like the gifts, most of the gifts, not all, but the adults would purchase gifts in advance, but the children purchase the gifts the day before Christmas. So it's like your mom gives you money, your dad gives you money, and you go out and you buy gifts on Grand Market for your family and your friend. But it's also like a hangout day as well. So you hang out with your friends, you eat food. It's like a market, street market. They close the streets. You buy from local vendors. You go in established stores. But, the older you get, you want to hang out later. So no matter how old you get and whether you're religious or not, as midnight is approaching, everyone goes to the church. Now, because old European cities and even in Jamaica and the Caribbean, like it's all built around the church. So the church is usually at the center of the town. So it's like you could be in the middle of a club, you could be out on the street, you're like, you hear the bells going, we all funnel into church. So whether you're in the hall, you're outside, it's like you're there for like the prayer and just all the things. I grew up Methodist, by the way. I noticed you two are Catholic. But so those were like the big things. Like you, we did our decorations ourselves. It wasn't like a big thing on a tree. It wasn't. Yeah, it was just, it wasn't. And again, you go to church, and my favorite was, of course, Christmas dinner. We'd always have like ham and beef and different things, at least three meats. We always went all out for that. And we baked cake. Baking was a big thing, and our family was known for that. So we baked cakes for our neighbors, so fruit cake. And no, it's not that disgusting stuff in Publix and pre-made stuff that I'm like, no, that is, ugh. No, we make really good black cake, fruit cakes, so good. And to this day, my mom still makes them. And, you give them out to friends and family and neighbors. And when someone comes over to your house during the Christmas month, so if someone comes over in December or even early January, they are expecting a piece of cake.
Mhm.
Okay. It's like you have to have the cake with the tea, or if they're Caribbean, they'll have like the sorrel or whatever. But yeah, so food is a big thing, but we're not fooled. We know our parents are buying our gifts. We do. And gifts aren't big either. So that's another thing. And seeing people how they go all out for decorating, it wasn't a thing.
Mhm.
I don't really feel like that peer pressure because I didn't grow up with it. Yeah. So that's just very interesting. But what do we do today? So that's what we grew up with. But what do we do today? The one thing I do today, I will say, is buying a real Christmas tree. Again, it just goes to the fact that Christmas wasn't about the tree. It wasn't about the gifts. It was just about church. Oh, and like you said, Fran, the nativity set. I love doing the nativity play. So we always had like a play at church. It was a whole production.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming together. Everyone's fighting. Who's going to be Mary? Who's going to be Joseph? Who's going to be the three wise men? That's our competition. Who's going to put on a good play, whether it's morning service, evening service, whatever. Anyway, the thing I do now, which has become a new tradition, is purchasing a real Christmas tree. So I purchased this tree. This is my first fake tree on my own. Kind of like Laura said, she never did the things. I never did Christmas when I was single and by myself. I just go home. This is my first fake tree for the office, for content, for you folk. But we would go out and purchase a real tree. And even being in Florida, where it's super hot, the trees actually last down here. I love the pine smell. And that's something we do together. My husband travels for work. So what we do is always up in the air. My family doesn't live here. So what we do is up in the air. But what I do is buy a real Christmas tree.
Yeah.
What do you do, Fran? Now.
So I have gotten way more into decorating. I know it doesn't look like it because I'm really not feeling it this year. But I do tend to go all out with decorating, and I probably got really into that when I moved to New York. I think it probably was like the peer pressure of having, like, in New York, everybody really decorates like the windows and the outside and whatever. And I felt like I had to do that. And in wanting to do that and like getting into that, it just translated more and more into the inside of the house. But I was, I guess, a little bit always like I really liked the decorating, but I really like go all out like I have. I don't do real trees. I did that for a couple of years, but I just don't like the mess. So I'm all about the fake trees. I have multiple trees usually in the house. So there's the green, regular big one. There's usually a white one. I like to do themed decorating. So the trees will usually have a theme. So maybe all the ornaments are particular kind of colors. So I do have multiple sets of ornaments in base of what mood I'm feeling in. So yeah, that is something that I do now that I never did before. My family never did. Like you're not finding that anywhere, but I do enjoy doing that now. And obviously, yes, my nativity set, that is I guard it now like my prized possession. You can't buy this stuff. So I've sort of taken it a little bit like a collector's kind of thing. So I buy stuff throughout the year, I collect it, and then I put stuff together. So I do enjoy doing that. Like I said, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it this year. So it's not there. But
I get that. What about you, Laura? What is something you do now?
So I don't celebrate. Like it's very interesting, but after I moved to the States, I did not celebrate. It's every so often. My family stopped celebrating like the big celebrations is my grandma passed away about 50 years ago. So it was we used to have an obligation where we just have dinner and how we'll the community and family. But the reality is that we just didn't like decorations, the whole thing. It was hard. And it's hard because when I was growing up, my dad had a store, so my mom was working on the store, and the biggest moneymaker is December 24th. So it was just this weird, like, it's just a busy time of the year. We're just going, making the most amount of money for the rest of the year. So it was never like this sense of like, we gotta celebrate, we gotta decorate, or like, we're just on the go. So it has translated. My grandma actually collected nativity sets through Kings and stuff. So when she passed away, we held many urns around. And like there's all kinds from the cheap to the most expensive ones, like very like prized possessions. So my parents have to like give a bunch of nativity sets. I am inheriting her golden ornaments. They're like beautiful ornaments that my mom was like, well, you put a tree, so I'm gonna send you the ornament. So I'm inheriting those from her, but she's the one who celebrated Christmas. My family, my direct, like my mom, my parents, and my brother, we don't celebrate thing as a family.
No, I get that. It's just Chris is very interesting. The one thing I will say is everyone just has to do what works for them. Because now let's get into what we see nowadays people doing. Because when I see what nowadays people are doing, I'm like, man, you're putting lots of pressure on yourself, just like going all out. And especially when you have children, like I wanting it to be magical. But again, it just kind of goes back to, I guess that's what you had experienced or maybe you had wanted. So you're kind of creating this thing. For me, it's too much work. I am team, please remember the reason for the season. Okay. Jesus is the actual gift. I hate to be corny, but it's true. You can purchase gifts, but if you're going to stress yourself out, if you're happy doing it and you don't feel stressed out, God bless. Me watching people decorate outside, inside, this, that, it's like you put it up, you have to take it down, and then you have to store it. And then I think about all these things. I also think about just finances because it's a lot. Okay. It's a lot of money for a lot of these things, even if you buy them on sale in January and save them for next year. It's a lot. So I find that very interesting. Elf on the shelf is a nowadays people thing. I also noticed I never did that with mine, but like we have little ones in our family and we kind of carry when they come over here as well. And I'm just like, it's a lot if you have to do something different every day for 24 days. So that's why I have a lazy guide. So if you forget to move the shelves, go over to the blog there. So I think that can be stressful and purchasing gifts and the gifts getting bigger and bigger because as the kids get older, I don't know, I see a lot of stress. So I often say, don't try to do everything during Christmas. So if we're doing Elf on the Shelf, which we are doing with the littles when they come over, that's it. But when you come over in January, and again, the winter months are long, again, we're in Florida, so we have good weather. But if you're somewhere where it gets super cold and all, save like the cookie stuff, like cookie decorating. You don't have to do Christmas decorated cookies, but you can do winter themed decorated cookies or just anything. It's like you don't have to cram everything all in December because it's just exhausting to me. So that's the biggest thing I see with nowadays people is Christmas is not relaxing or family or like focusing on quality time. It's actually stressful. That's my biggest nowadays people thing I notice. What do you notice, Fran?
yeah, I actually agree with you on, especially with the decorating. Again, from my experience of like wanting to keep up with everybody else doing it, I did it for a couple of years. And then I was like, why am I doing all this work? And then I have to take all this stuff down. And I don't even get to enjoy it because I'm inside the damn house. So I just focus about what I can see because it's pretty because I can see it. And the rest is like, there is not one single light outside ever. I don't get so. I feel that I think people do put a lot of pressure on themselves. And the biggest thing that I see, especially that has gotten worse over the years because capitalism and consumerism, the gifts, there's so much pressure on gift giving. And it's never just like, oh, it's the thought. It's they forget the fact that the gifts are getting bigger because kids get bigger because I mean, I don't have
Yeah, yeah.
kids. But it's just the pressure of the expectation because everybody just expects a lot. Like you can't just go to somebody with like a $20 gift as a thought, like I thought about you. That doesn't work. And for me, that is so crazy because, again, I never grew up very big on gifts. And if somebody gives you something, it's the fact that they thought about you, right? So
Yeah.
it's not so much about what I got, but it is about what I got with people. So I don't know. And I think that there's also, it puts pressure, even if you're the one receiving it, it puts pressure on you if other people are giving you all the stuff and these big gifts, or like somebody's spending X amount of dollars on a gift for me. Now I feel like I have to do the
Yeah.
same thing. And to me, that just, I know people enjoy it. I think that's you. That's great. But it does add so much extra pressure, especially in a financial way where it just adds to the stress of the season. In my
Can I add that's part of my problem where, in a way, I used to wonder if I was missing out on something with the Santa Claus experience. You know what I mean? I used to really wonder, but then it's like now, and when it came to my husband and I deciding how do you approach Santa Claus, I just came to the conclusion, and again, to each his own, but this is what I'm thinking about, kind of playing off what you're saying, friend. So when you're little, right, you don't really have certain awareness. You come back to school, you're like, oh my God, I got this for Christmas. And my biggest thing is I don't want like another child, not just mine. Because again, that's the thing. You have to think about all the children. I hate to say it, people, you can't just focus on your own. That's why, help us be a better society. You have to think about everyone. My thing is, I don't want a child to feel like they weren't good enough. Because remember, the premise is if you are good, Santa's going to bring gifts for you. I don't want a child to feel like they were not good enough. And that's why Santa didn't bring them a gift to begin with. And if they did get a gift, it's not as big or as elaborate as someone else. Because remember, when children are little, they don't have the wherewithal and understanding to understand that one, people have different things. Because when you're little, you just kind of feel like we're all on the same playing field. That's how I did anyway. So with that said, it's like I'm very mindful of the approach of, we have other family members who do Santa Claus with their children, God bless. But I often say, we, the parents, give Santa Claus a budget. You know what I'm saying? So every family has a different budget. So I'm not going to rain on their parade and their choice to do Santa Claus, but that's just my, I guess, maybe tip to people out there. Let your kids know that Santa gets a budget from you, the parents, because then sometimes other kids, they might see things and they feel like they are less than. And I'm not saying it's your concern about what other kids get, but it's kind of like setting them up in a way so that when they do interact with others, like they don't cause harm. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because that Santa Claus thing, man, it bothers me to hell. That's why I often say, in a way, I wondered if I missed out on something. But then at the same time, it was super beneficial to me knowing grandma and grandpa bought this, mom and dad bought this, sister bought this. There's no illusion that some mysterious person did this. It's weird. But anyway, what do you think about nowadays people, Laura?
I think it's just hard. Like it's a competing with the Joneses, like the competition, the more getting in debt and then putting yourself depressed. Because I think in some ways we're just in this place where just like I'm just buying things for the sake of buying things, and then I'm just decorating for the sake of decorating because I don't want to feel depressed. And then you have the after holiday blues. And it's just this long, like I hate January, February because it just feels this winter long months of like nothing going. But you have the high highs and then you have the low lows.
Yeah, that's save some of the activities, y'all. Save some of the activities for the winter months. That's why I select a handful of things that I'm doing with my family, which I did a video on that. So stay tuned. I think that comes out on Thursday as well. Because remember, this is pre-recorded, but
Look at I am very mindful of that. I try not to do too much. One, I'm not driving myself crazy. I ain't keeping up with anybody. But also, I've gotten to the age where I feel more confident and comfortable in myself. Because once upon a time, I wasn't. All right, let's talk Christmas movies. The one Christmas movie that stands out to me, and it's so funny because my sister's here. She's probably asleep. But anyway, sister and I are big Home Alone fans. One day, I keep telling her that one day I'm going to do the New York trip. We are going to do the New York trip to the Home Alone hotel. I forgot the name of the hotel, but just know, going for the hotel. We're getting the Home Alone suite. We're ordering pizza. We're getting ice cream. We're doing the all things. I told her, even if we're 18, we are going to do this one day. It hasn't happened yet, but it will happen, speaking it into being. But Home Alone was a big thing for my sister and I. Can't think of any other movie that really stuck with her. It was just so funny, all the Home Alone movies. And then my husband and I watched together. He watched it many a times before, but I watched it for the first time with him. It's a Beautiful Life, and I absolutely loved it. So now we watch it every year because we watched it that first year we met. And the last movie I'm going to say is, what do you call that Christmas adventure? National Lampoon.
Yeah.
We actually like that. It is so silly, but it kind of feeds into the trying to do all these things for Christmas and trying to make it happen. And it's just that dumb stuff. I don't know. There's something about it I appreciate. But yeah, those are the movies. Again, we were just so busy at church doing Christmassy things. I really didn't watch a lot of TV growing up.
Yeah, I think also for me, like TV was not like there wasn't any set thing that I had to watch every single year. Also, I didn't really watch a lot of Christmas movies. It was not really a thing for us. So, like, people didn't really have like a tradition of like, oh, we have to watch. And maybe that is just because like you would just watch whatever was the new movies that are out, if anything, or you would just watch whatever is the movie on TV. And going back again to the reason for Christmas, the one thing that we would watch on TV every Christmas was the actual Passion of Christ. And like you would watch something religious usually. So whatever TV would play, which, you know, that's what was, we didn't have streaming, we didn't have a lot of choices.
Nope.
So it was whatever the TV would choose to play that was religious. So yes, there was, and there were many, not just Jesus, but there was always a lot of religious things to watch during the holidays. So that's where I grew up doing. Now, in terms of now, I have watched all the Home Alones and the whatevers, and I never felt a need to replicate that and like say like I have to watch that every single year. I do like to watch Christmas movies, like the whatever is the new for either some Hallmarks or now Netflix, which Netflix does have much better ones. So that I do like to do only because they're very like soothing and calming and cheesy and it's like just perfect for in the middle of all the chaos just to like calm yourself down and just okay, I don't have to think too hard and all of that. So which I did actually watch the two I watched 3 of the Netflix ones this past week and a half. Yeah, I do have to say the outlandish Hot Frosty was just fun. Like, it's just a snowman that comes to life, falls in love with the woman that brought him back to life accidentally. And it was just like so much fun. It is just wild and out there and ridiculous and super cheesy and corny and perfect.
Milo.
So I think that would be like my tradition is to find whatever is playing at the time. And as long as it's something that is heartwarming and comforting. So I think that's important. And at the same time, try to like think of the reason for the season.
Yeah.
So I grew up watching like a lot of more TV growing up. I remember what we watched, but there was a lot of it like just basically stream like dubbed in Spanish. I was at grandma's house for like most of the holiday season. And so sometimes grandma was like, just wear such a And so we just said Home Alone was a big one. My brother and I, we used to play. My parents used to take us to New York and say actually had to buy merchandise in New York. So we would go like New York trips during the fall. And so we will do like the different things at Home Alone that he did. And my brother and I, we love that. I now watch, like, I would say, like, I watched for the first time The Holiday last year on a trip back. And I was like, oh, that's cute. I read a lot of books based on The Holiday. I do have to say, it's really problematic, and I'm very aware how problematic it is, but I love actually. Like, it's just this problematic movie that just tugs the heartstrings. And I don't watch Hallmark, but I do read a lot of spicy Hallmark books, the whole Christmas books. I take it what I can.
My mother-in-law got me into the Hallmark movies because she really just, I mean, she reads a lot of like the Harlequin romances and she watches a lot of Hallmark movies
Yeah.
all year long, and not just for the holidays. So I got into the habit with spending the holidays with them. So that's now it's a tradition.
My mom watched Lycan, so she just watched all these like killer the husband did it. They're more for it. Well, here's what the supper. Oh, she watched like the houses either Lifetime, Food Network, or the Shopping Network. The one with like all the like Home Shopping Network. Those are the channels. But Lifetime is like all year round. It's like we're more in the thriller family. So
Very funny. I think what I love hearing is that it depends where we were spending the holidays. It dictated our experiences. Movies weren't a big thing. It just weren't a thing. But now I really do enjoy it. I'm kind of getting into Hallmark. I'm not really a Hallmark girly. I am a Bravo girly and Danny Pellegrino. Okay. I love Danny Pellegrino. What's the name of his podcast again? He has it's I forgot. We're blanking on it now that we want to actually mention it. But I do listen everything iconic with Danny Pellegrino. He talks pop culture, but mostly Bravo. Long story short is he has a movie coming to Hallmark, so I will be for sure watching. I'm supporting Danny. It's called Deck the Walls. He actually wrote this movie. He is starring in this movie. I've been following him for a while. He's funny. He's a comedian, but he's also a writer. I know his story. He's been writing forever. You get rejected a million times, but I love that now he has a movie, not just that he's written, but he's also starring in it. So I will be for sure watching for Danny Pellegrino. So that's going to be the one Hallmark thing. I think he says it's going to be on Hallmark, but then it's also going to be on Peacock for a little. And anyway, search Deck the Walls, Danny Pellegrino, but that's definitely on my movies list. Okay, food and drink.
You know what's weird? I
Mhm.
wasn't really into movies, but music.
Okay.
Artists releasing like their Christmas albums or like compilations of like all big artists releasing a Christmas album. Like there was always a Christmas album, a new Christmas album being purchased in my house. And I have continued on the tradition. So like that was
What's on replay? What do y'all revisit more often than not always, but more often?
so actually for me, okay, hold on. I gotta open up my app because now everything is digital, but it is God, why do I always forget her name?
When you want to remember something, it's like me blanking on Danny's podcast.
Yeah. Sia. So Sia had an album called Every Day is Christmas. And I keep replaying that. Like that starts off. Even if I get something new, like that has to kick off. And Kelly Clarkson also has a pretty good one. It's quite old, but it's a pretty decent Christmas album. I think it's Wrapped in Red. Yes, Wrapped in Red.
Mhm.
So, I mean, now I've added like pentatonics and I'm not super big on like the Michael Bublé. I know he's big during the holidays, but that's not where I lean. But, obviously, Italian household, we did have all of the Andrea Bocelli's and the Pavarotti and like all of those. The three tenors always used to have Christmas special. So that was playing. So music was playing, like Christmas music, anything was a thing then and now.
I think I was so saturated in the car, anywhere, just outdoors, if I took a bus or something. I was just like, no, I'm good. When I'm home, I'm good. But this thing sounds interesting. See, it caught my attention. So I pulled it up. I might be adding it to my queue as well. But what I want us to talk about before we dip is food and drink. What is like a big food or drink item? So for me, it was always ham has to be on the table for Christmas. Don't ask me why. We don't eat ham any other time, really. My granddad would probably get like a little piece or something, but we go all out with all ham at Christmas. Always have to have ham. The fruitcake I was telling you all about, when people come around, they're expecting a piece. We gift it, we eat it. So that cake is a must. Christmas dinner, always three meats, always a bunch of sides, and that we go all out for See, Thanksgiving didn't exist for me growing up, for all out. So Christmas for us is the Super Bowl of meals. Easter's the opposite, street, reflective of the season. But yeah, we go all out at Christmas. I said ham, I said cake. Caribbean people love, specifically, I can only speak for Jamaican people, we love sorrel. It's this thing, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like this red thing. I remember picking it when I would go to Jamaica. It makes you very itchy, but it's such a great drink. My mom actually, because she was in Atlanta before she came here, at my sister, she got some dried ones. So we're gonna go test that out for Thanksgiving. So that's gonna be very interesting testing out the dried version. But I would say those are mostly the highlights when it comes to what about you, Fern?
So we were never big on food or like a specific menu, let's say. The biggest thing in terms of food is the different courses. So like there was always the different things that there is a lot of stuff to eat, but it could be anything. So there wasn't a set like, oh, this has to be on the table,
Mm,
except when it comes to sweets.
mm.
So panettone had to always be there, which is basically like a fruit cake. Love it. Just I have to eat it. I haven't bought my first one. I go through several panettones per year, so that is just so that has to always be there. And then torrone is also very big, which is not a cookie or whatever, but it is a sweet. So that always has to be on the table. And there is some like homemade torrone that you can make. So like there could be either or, but yeah, everything with sweets has to be there more so than a set menu or set drinks. But in that, growing up in Panama, there used to always be a type of eggnog. We call it romponche. So that always had to be there. So no glass, even as a child, like there was no thing like, oh, you're a child, you can't have this or that or whatever.
No.
Like only and then like for New Year's Eve, I always have my little champagne, like let's toast. So like that wasn't a big taboo thing. So
Yeah.
think that's probably the only thing. Like, yeah, for me, food was never a big thing in my family. Let's just say, like, we're not like big. Now, when it comes to my husband's family, when I got introduced to that world, food is like, lots. So, yeah, which to me is so weird. I'm like, okay, I mean, I enjoy eating, but yeah, I don't live for that. But for them, all the menu is always Greek food, no matter the holiday. So there's always going to be like the pasticcio, and like everything is always the same. It doesn't matter what's the holiday, you're still eating pasticcio and whatever on Thanksgiving or Easter or Christmas or whatever. So yeah.
Laura, I have to squeeze in a Bravo reference because I know that Greek and GK,
Yeah.
that with Angie K's, this is Greek. That is straight of Greek. I love
That
Here's a reality.
I vouch for that. It's like that comes like my father was the worst with that. Everything is like, oh, the word cup. It comes from bacon.
It's not hurting.
If I have to hear this one more time, I'm with me.
Listen, I love Angie K. I'm an Angie K apology. She makes me laugh every time. The latest episode, she was saying that Abraham Lincoln. What? It's true. We saw it's true. The plays are true. It's like Greek. It's a Versace Greek. Yes, it's true. Said Abraham Lincoln had Versace play. And it's like Greek inspired. So we're like, there's a true. Versace did not exist. But I knew she was referencing like the pattern.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, everything with Angie something is Greek. Did you know this is Greek? That is Greek. And I'm here for it.
That is the story of my life. I hear it every day.
And so big on food. And listen, Dubai throws really great parties on Salt Lake City. So I kind of seeing her just kind of celebrate her Greek culture and everything like I live. So kind of hearing you mention, oh, I'm sorry, you're like, oh, we're not going for the holidays. Thank God I need a break. What about you, Laura, with food?
So we're big on food. So we got arroz con gandules, which is rice with pigeon peas. We got pasteles, which I do not like, but everyone loves them. It's kind of like our tamales mixed around. We have coquito, which is better than eggnog, and people like have their own little underground selling thing. But coquito means it's a coconut-based rum thing because everything is rum because we're a big rum importer, like exporter. So poquito, we have pernil, we got lechon, la lechonera, which means we got the whole roast pig and we just roast it all in the round. We have morcilla, which I do not like, which is it's like it's like a black sausage, stuff like that. We have like different like yogurt and fava, which is sweet potatoes, and yeah, we eat all the things. No greens, by the way. There's no greens other than pigeon peas. There's no greens. Everything else is shrimp and lightning and nourish. I get that.
It's very starch heavy and meat heavy because I'm telling you, like there's three different. Like for my granddad, you have to have beef. Like he's just big on beef. For me, when I was little, like I loved beef, but I preferred ham. So it's just like you had to have a lot of a lot. And I always laughed because like Christmas is obviously a big holiday, big Christian holiday. So then the second big Christian holiday, in my opinion anyway, was Easter. So I was like, big old feast. And then you said like almost not famine, but you're fasting. A lot of people fast. So I was just like, man, too extreme. But it is what it is. So I found some rapid fire questions online. It's a bunch of just like Christmas questions. And I'll skip because we kind of went over some of it as we were talking. But they were saying, okay, do you have a holiday hack that helps you get through the season? My holiday hack is locate your closet and make it your sanctuary. Have like some water in there if you need like little mini bottles of booze if you drink, God bless, snacks, whatever. Just have it behind your door is safe. So normally if they open, have something that stops the door and they do a quick scan, they don't see you and dip. All right. I use a footstool because I have like a footstool to climb. Listen, make the closet your friend, in my opinion. Sometimes I feel like bathrooms aren't safe because they're going to come in the bathrooms anyway. So I think that's a big one. But what about you, Laura? What is a easy, safe way? What is your hack for Christmas? Get through?
So your breath is your best friend. And so if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling pleased, you do the pause and breathe. You
I
need because it's just going to regulate your nervous system. And it's just like, and just remember this to your breath. So you're going to be able to leave this and you don't have to remember this and you don't have to deal with this anymore. Just spread your breath. It's kind of like your freight anti-anxiety or Xanax. Or if you don't have Xanax or Klonopin, then just shake a little bit of that and just like just be with people with that stuff. So
how do you survive, Fran?
I actually think the most important thing is boundaries. Like just because the holidays are there and just because you have to get together with family and XYZ, that doesn't mean that your personal boundaries go to the wayside. And if there are situations or people that are toxic to you, you're perfectly okay setting those boundaries in whatever way works for you, and you decide how much you want to compromise or not or whatever, but always know that you have every right. There is no right or wrong, and you don't have to force yourself to put yourself in a position that is bad for your mental health. So I think that boundaries is the biggest and most important thing. So know what works for you and what doesn't and what's detrimental to you, because just because you have to see family for a couple of days doesn't mean that now you're going to have a huge bad mental situation for like months after it. So it's okay to be a little mean. He's for it. No, totally fine. Just be a bitch.
I agree. So in addition to the closet, just say no because there's lots of invites going out around
Mm.
this time of year, kind of piggybacking off of Francesca. So if you have decided to put up with the family, you don't have to put up with the work people. You don't have to go to everything with the friends. So definitely balance and boundaries. Okay, rapid fire. Do you wrap your presents or put them in gift bags? I do both. What do you do, Laura?
Give backs.
Fran?
I do both,
Yeah.
but I think lately I prefer the bags, but I do both.
Mhm. Okay, do you open presents Christmas Eve night or Christmas morning? I will say my husband told me he would open one on Christmas Eve, like he got like one on Christmas Eve and then the rest on Christmas morning. So we kind of indulge that now. But me growing up, it was always Christmas morning. What about you, Laura?
Growing up Christmas morning, now it's Christmas Eve.
Fran?
Christmas morning.
Yeah. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I know people debate this online. And it happens every year. I'm like, live your best life. If it works for you, yes. Christmas. What do you say, Laura?
Agree. Live your best life. Usually you. No judge.
Fran?
Same for me. Like, again, I didn't grow up watching Christmas movies. So
Mhm.
nothing is a Christmas movie and anything is a Christmas movie. That's fine.
What's your favorite Winter Olympic sport? I am gonna say snowboarding. Laura?
I like the curling, the one that you do like the little brooming thing. That's a fun.
All right, know that, friend.
Are we saying about doing or just watching? Because doing none of them. I do like figure skating and like snowboarding or skiing if it's about watching.
Yeah. If you were an elf, what would your elf name be? Ooh, I did like some elf on the shelf names. I don't know. Grinchy. Yuck.
Nah, still.
Just I'm gonna be a Grinch.
Not idea.
All right. I would be the Grinchy one. I'd be the grumpy one. Let me see what else they say. No, I don't support the present questions. I asked about the holiday. Okay, this is the last one. Where is the best place to see Christmas lights? So I leave early in the morning. And so there's this drag in not far from my community where every single community has like this big display outside. So I'll take folks there. But I also love the downtown area. They're going to be putting up a tree, not this weekend, I think next. So I'm very excited. So needless to say, go to any downtown, you will see some sort of light. Um, Laura, any recommendations on places for lights or maybe places you've seen?
Yeah, so I would say I'm not a like person, but there are a couple of things. One, New York and Saks Fifth Avenue, which they're not doing this year because they didn't lose money. They had a beautiful light show outside of Robert Fuller Center. It was beautiful. They did like a whole light situation. So that's New York. But New York is a great place for window shopping and like window and like seeing the tree and getting all the Christmas space. So it's a really great place to for the holidays. Chicago, the zoo, the Lincoln Park Zoo, basically for free every night they have a light show. So you get to see the animals with like lights and all these different things. And it's just kind of like a fun experience. So I got to go 1 year after while the pandemic was happening. So it's like social distance, but I feel like that's a good place to go. So if you're going to a big city to go to holidays, I know London has like big light shows and stuff like that. Anyway, so look for a big city to do like a little trip to go Christmas. Those are two of my recommendations. Chicago is and do have some light shows, and then New York is great for Christmas.
Yeah, I have to say, I can't even believe I blanked on that. London is amazing during the holidays. I feel like nobody does the holidays like them. I love the shows. I just, I love, I just love everything about Christmas there. I will also, and I've never done this, but I've seen it on television. Disney does a great like Christmas.
Did you Christmas party? They do have light shows and stuff like that. We used to go for the holidays for Christmas for Disney, and it's a great place. It's crowded. If you want to go to Disney, go the second day, January 2nd, because it's less crowded than the 25th. Like, but that week
Makes sense.
after the 25th, that week is actually less crowded. And you get to, I've done New Year's there, and it's great to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Fran?
So I'm going to piggyback on Laura because I think having lived in many places, I think New York is always best. And it's funny because you don't have to just stick to the traditional. Obviously, yes, there is the tree at Rockefeller Center and like all of these things. But there is so much to do in New York for the holidays. Like you could go from as simple as just walking around and window shopping because usually the stores will have really beautiful displays, even just outside of the shops. But like there's, for example, like at Bryant Park, they have the cutest holiday market there. Like, it is just the most adorable thing with, like, really cute, like, food and drinks and the best hot cocos. Like, even just the smells of the city, you have, like, the nuts and the little carts with you can get all this stuff, so you're really getting a vibe. As far as lights, though, if you're still in New York, you could venture out to Brooklyn. There is a neighborhood that does a really like, obviously, they all have money, so they spend a lot on their decorations, and I'm pretty sure that they're all professionally decorated. But if you go to Diker Heights, you could just walk around, like, literally, there's, like, masses of people just walking around the neighborhood looking at the houses. So that's fun, that's interesting, and always something, like, fun to see. But, yeah, I feel like where I am now, there's a lot less opportunity for that. So, I don't get to have that experience, but I guess I was never big on lights, so it's fine, but yeah, I think New York always takes the cake for me. There's just so much nice things to see.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Again, if you can't make it to a big city, I'm telling you, just find a small town nearby you that has a tree lighting, hallway, a little neighborhood or a little nook that has like some really nice displays. I'm not really a light person either, but it's something to do.
Or
Well,
fall on market, like, find your little cutesy small town holiday market because 'cause you're gonna find it's a good time, and it's a cozy time, and always some good food or good drinks.
yep, yep, I agree. All right, everyone, we are back live next week. So we're coming back live December 5th for our next live show. We're going to be doing comforting and cozy reads. Thanks for hanging with us for Christmas traditions. If you're looking for holiday themed books, we did that last week. So watch the replay. Let us know in the comments what you think, but also let us know in the comments what you think about this video as well. But again, we gather here every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. New York time, depending where you are. So use New York as a reference. But yeah, I think that's it for Holiday Traditions episode. I don't think I'm missing anything. So we'll see you all live next week. Bye.